Address textbook dilemma as we talk about no brain to the Express newspaper. All I can say to you is wow. On Sunday, the Express editorial says, address textbook dilemma now. The Ministry of Education, schools, and teachers should work together to help families cushion the blow of inflation. With the value of family incomes eroded by higher prices, salary cuts, and job losses, parents are feeling the stress of meeting the cost of books, especially those with several school-aged children. Express, you now realize this? Express under Tim Gopi Singh and Kamla Prasad Bisesa from 2010 to 2015 September. The UNC spent every year $133 million in providing textbooks to our children. They also used to utilize the reuse of textbooks, the reuse program, which would add another $20 million in value per year. As soon as Keith Rowley came in, he cut that textbook program from $133 million down to $33 million. You didn't know that that would have not cushioned the blow, that would have been a straight blow onto the citizens. You only now realize that people are suffering for textbooks. You only just realize that 7 years later, after $700 million, the PNM diverted from our children to wherever they want to spend it, with Noel Garcia in charge of all the expenditure, or Newman George or Rowley's friends and lawyers and financiers, with no corporate governance, with ministers procuring. Express, you're now aware of this. You sat silent as people suffered. How many children suffered? How many families suffered? Yes, it's getting worse now, but by your own words, Express, isn't this a total indictment on the current government? Listen to what you write, not what the UNC say, no, not what Anil say, not what Kamla say. With the value of family incomes eroded. How are family incomes being eroded? Due to the lack of a plan, the lack of creativity, the lack of economic success of the PNM. That's how families' incomes are being eroded. The purchasing power of a dollar is being eroded because of the lack or the total incompetence of the PNM. Why you don't write that? This is why we have a government, to ensure that family incomes are not eroded, that the purchasing power of our dollar stays strong, that people can afford to buy books and afford to buy medicine and afford to buy food. That's the job of a government, Express. So you write these things and you just move on. The Express also says the incomes are being eroded by higher prices. Higher prices, yes, especially for food, because no agricultural plan, no agricultural policy, no import plan, nothing, no foreign exchange. So foreign exchange pressures on goods, because businessmen have to go and buy on the black market at $8.50 and $9 for US. That is adding the gas subsidy removal. When we said that it will increase transport costs for everything across the board, where were you, Express? You now know it's policies of the PNM. It's policies of Rowley. It's the incompetence of the Duen that has people suffering. Why are you unable to say that, Express? Why? They continue. Salary cuts and job losses. Who's in charge of job losses? There were job losses before COVID of 103,000. There was the shutdown of Petrotrin, shutdown of ArcelorMittal, the 2017 gas negotiation by Rowley and Smallpin, which caused 11 companies in Point Lisa to shut down. The shutdown and the lack of job creation, the lack of creativity, the lack of diversification, the lack of any sort of movement forward towards growth. That is the PNM no plan. That is the incompetence of Rowley. But yet you can't say it. You just talk like that and say somebody must help the people get textbooks. Really? Well, Kamla was helping, Tim Gopi Singh was helping, the UNC was helping, and when you add on that now to laptops, to tablets, when you add on extra school feeding that Tim Gopi Singh and Kamla Prasad Bisesa had there, what about the extra gate funding, the funding for UTT COSTAT, the funding for MIC and NESC centers? All of that put together, you now understand that an incompetent government for 7 years has people in pain, and you say address the textbook dilemma now. Not 7 years ago, not 6 years ago, not 5 years ago, not 4 years ago. Do it now. The only way to do it is to get rid of the PNM. Say it, Express. Say it with me. The PNM must go. Rowley is the worst prime minister in the history of the Caribbean. They have no plan. Nothing works because they're totally incompetent. There is no intellectual capital in the cabinet. Say it, Express. Don't be afraid.